The twin suns of Kareth Prime bled across the horizon like molten glass. The planet was a scrapyard of forgotten civilizations, starship bones buried under red dust, and the air smelled of iron and rain that never came. Commander Jace Rowan, former engineer of the Terran Vanguard, crouched in the ruins of an old mech forge calibrating a handheld scanner. His mission was simple: recover a forgotten power core rumored to lie beneath the city's collapsed underbelly. But simple missions rarely stayed that way. As he descended deeper into the rusted catacombs, his scanner pinged faintly human biosigns. Except there were no humans left on Kareth Prime, only the Seeker and the feline-eyed natives once known for their elegance, now reduced to scavengers after the war. And that's when he heard it, a voice, fragile, metallic, echoing through the tunnels. "You shouldn't be here, human." Jace turned, blaster half-drawn. A figure emerged from the shadows, silver hair matted with dust, deep purple skin streaked with the faint glow of cybernetic lines across her neck. She sat in a floating chair, hovering barely a foot off the ground, its engine sputtering like a dying heart. "I'm not looking for trouble," Jace said, lowering his weapon. "Good," she replied flatly, "because trouble doesn't walk anymore." Her name was Vera, once a Saren mech pilot, until a plasma blast took her legs during the siege of Kareth. For 10 years, she'd scavenged tech to keep her chair alive, but the energy reserves were dying, and so was her will. JACE offered her a ration pack. She stared at it like it was poison, then took it with trembling hands. "Why help me?" she asked. "Because everyone deserves to stand again," he said quietly. That line, simple, human, struck something in her. The Saren believed that standing tall was the mark of one's spirit. To lose one's legs was to lose one's soul. When Jace's scanner picked up the signal deeper below, she insisted on guiding him. They descended into the old factory's heart, a maze of melted steel and dormant machines. But Jace noticed something else, a cluster of surveillance drones, branded with the insignia of the Vorn Dominion, the empire that enslaved her people after the war. "They're still here," she whispered, "still watching us." As they hid among the ruins, she told him the truth. The Dominion wasn't just scavenging resources. They were testing cybernetic control chips on disabled Saren, turning them into remote soldiers. She had escaped their labs. And Jace's heart froze. The power core he was sent to recover wasn't just any relic, it was the control node for those chips. That night, under the pale violet moons, Jace began sketching a design on a broken tablet, something half human, half alien, a new set of legs. "You're serious?" Vera murmured, watching him draw. That's what I do. You want to walk again. You can't fix what's gone. Watch me." For the first time in a decade, Vera smiled faintly, painfully, beautifully. And when she smiled, the stars above the ruins didn't look so cold anymore, but the scanners soon flared red. The Dominion patrols were closing in. Jace would have to build her freedom in the middle of a battlefield, and this was only the beginning. The night before the storm, the forge came alive. Sparks danced across the old mech foundry as Jace's tools hummed in rhythm, steel meeting code meeting nerve. He worked like a man possessed, guided by something more than engineering, by a promised art to make her walk again. Vera watched from the shadows, the dim light painting her violet eyes in molten gold. For 10 years, no one had looked at her as something fixable. To the Saren, she was a broken relic of a lost war. To Jace, she was a challenge worth bleeding for. "What's it like?" she asked quietly, "to believe you can change fate with your hands?" Jace smirked, not looking up. "It's what humans do best, break things until they work." He'd stripped parts from dormant warmech servos, carbon titanium frames, and adaptive neural mesh once used in X. When combined, it wasn't just machinery, it was resurrection. But resurrection never came cheap. That's dawn broke. The Dominion patrols descended, black armored soldiers, red visors gleaming through the dust storm. The Vorn had found them. "We're out of time," Jace growled, sealing the final circuit. "Then do it," she whispered, "before they take it all back." He pressed the activation pad. For a heartbeat silence. Then her body arched, light surging through her veins as the legs fused with living flesh and nerve. She screamed, not in pain, but rebirth. Sparks exploded across the floor as she stood. Her breath came ragged, her new limbs sleek, obsidian, chrome with living circuits that glowed like rivers of dawnlight, moved with impossible grace. Jace stepped back, awed. "How do they feel?" "Like thunder," she said, voice trembling. The moment shattered as the wall behind them erupted in fire. Dominion soldiers stormed the forge. "Move," Jace shouted. Vera leapt across the debris, her new legs slicing through the air like blades. Her body remembered what her spirit never forgot. She tore through the enemy lines faster, stronger, unstoppable. And when she fought, it wasn't mechanical precision, it was fury reborn. Jace covered her flank, blasting drones from the catwalk. One of the troopers yelled through the comms, "Subject V9 reactivated. All units engage." That's when Vera froze. 5 to 9, that was her old lab designation. "They still think they own you," Jace said through the comms. "Let's prove them wrong." They fought side by side, human grit and alien speed, until the last drone fell, smoking in the red sand. But victory brought revelation. Inside one of the Dominion data cores, Jace found encrypted files, schematics, medical reports, and something worse, a list of experiments, all Siren test subjects with disabled bodies. Vera was one of hundreds. "They're building an army," Jace whispered. "No," she said coldly. "They're harvesting souls." That night, as they took shelter in an abandoned observatory, she stared at the stars. "When I was a child," she said, "my people told stories about the human fire, how your kind burned through galaxies and still carried warmth in your hands. I thought it was a myth. And now I know the fire is real." She reached out, touching his hand. Her skin was warm, almost electric. The neural link in her new legs pulsed, syncing faintly with his tech implants. A resonance, emotional and physical, formed between them. For a moment, neither spoke. The silence wasn't empty, it was sacred. But far above, in the orbiting dreadnought Vaughn's Mercy, Admiral Crine watched the scene unfold through his surveillance grid. "So," he muttered, "the human engineer has reactivated the prototype. Perfect. Bring them to me alive. I want to see what happens when emotion meets machinery." Lightning forked across the clouds as the Dominion's fleet descended. The war wasn't over, it was just beginning, and on the dunes below, Jace looked to Vera. "They'll come for us now. Let them," she said, eyes blazing. "They'll find I'm done crawling." The storm came with no warning. Flashes of lightning carved the night as if the gods were welding the sky back together. The Dominion dreadnought Vaughn's Mercy hung above the desert like a black wound in the heavens. Its gravity field distorted the clouds, its cannons glowing crimson, aimed at the surface below. On inside the observatory, Jace sealed the last of the power cells into Vera's leg ports. "Once we're up there," he said, "we'll have one shot. We overload the core, shut down the Dawn machine, and broadcast the evidence to the entire sector, and if we fail, then we make sure the galaxy remembers why it should fear a human with a wrench." She smiled faintly. "Then let's make history." Their stolen shuttle roared through the storm. Lightning crawled across the hull, engines howling against the pull of the dreadnought's gravity well. "Docking clamps active," Jace shouted. "I can feel the interference," Vera hissed, touching her temple. "They're jamming us." The neural link in her legs began to shimmer again, this time beyond human tech. Symbols danced across her thighs, an alien script pulsing with life. "The armor's adapting," she whispered. "Then trust it," he said. "Just like I trust you." They slammed into an airlock and breached. Dominion guards swarmed. Vera moved like light, a blur of steel and fury. Her legs cleaved through armor, her eyes burning gold. Every movement was a symphony of vengeance and beauty. Jace followed with a plasma cutter-turned weapon, cutting through panels, sealing bulkheads, turning the ship itself against its masters. Finally, the inner doors opened, and there he was, a mountain of bio-augmented muscle and ceremonial armor, eyes glowing with Dominion biotech. Behind him loomed the Dawn machine, a colossal sphere of humming light, the source of his power. "Ah, the cripple who walks," Crine sneered, "and the ape who fixed her. Fitting that your love ends where my creation begins." "You call this creation?" Jace spat. "You turned miracles into machines," Crine smiled. "Miracles belong to those who can control them." He struck first. A wave of kinetic energy hurled them across the chamber. Vera hit the floor, circuits sparking. Jace's ribs screamed in protest. "You can't stop evolution," Crine roared. "You're obsolete." But Vera rose, slowly, defiantly, and smiled. "Then let me show you what rebirth looks like." She sprinted forward, moving faster than sight. Crine swung a plasma blade, but her new legs absorbed the blow, then unleashed it back as a kinetic pulse that shattered the deck. Jace dove toward the Dawn machine's console, hacking into its core with trembling fingers. Sparks rained down as Dominion troopers flooded in Vera. He yelled, "I need 30 seconds." She met Crine head-on, close, light fury. He was stronger, but she was alive in ways he couldn't comprehend. Every blow she took, the neural sync fed power back to her until the light around her burned. White-hot.jace hit the final command. System override. Human input confirmed. The Dawn machine screamed a sound of stars dying. Crine stumbled back, eyes wide. "What have you done?" "Gave it a conscience," Jace said. "Something you'll never have." The sphere imploded, flooding the chamber with pure light. Crine's armor melted as he howled in rage and then silence. When the light faded, Vera stood at the center, holding Jace in her arms. Her body glowed, veins of light tracing across her skin. The Dawn machine hadn't killed her. It had bonded with her. "You're glowing," Jace whispered. "I know." She smiled softly. "I think it recognized me." Together they broadcasted data to every colony in the sector, proof of Dominion crimes, and the truth of what humans and Siren could achieve together. The epilogue, the girl who walked months later, a dawn unlike any other touched the desert of Seraphes IX. Children played in the sand outside the rebuilt forge. Ships of mixed crews, human and Siren, carried relief supplies instead of weapons, and beneath the rising suns, a young child with human eyes and Siren markings ran across the dunes, chased by laughter. Jace stood at the doorway, his arm around Vera. You ever think we'd get here? He asked quietly. No, she said, smiling. But I dreamed of it every night. Her metallic legs shimmered like twin mirrors of the sunrise. The child, their child, waved from afar. Mom, Dad, come see. Vera looked at Jay's eyes, soft and bright. You gave me back my legs, she whispered, but you also gave me back my life. He took her hand. No, you gave us a future. The wind rose, carrying the scent of metal and bloom. And as they walked into the light step for step, heartbeat for heartbeat, the galaxy watched something it hadn't seen in 1,000 years. A human and an alien walking together as one.